step 2 in February, and that's where we are now. And so guess what step 2, what it starts off with? A chapter to the agnostics. And a lot of people, not a lot of people, but a person asked me one time, said, well, what is an agnostic? What it talks about actually in the book, and I'll read a little bit out of there, but I don't want to be too long with this. It talks, first off, an atheist, and it doesn't say chapter to the atheist, because the atheist, you may or may not ever change their minds. Atheist is the person who disbelieves or lacks a belief in any existence of God or gods. And so they really have a hard time. I know a few atheists, and I mean, they're sober, but the book wasn't written in that. The reason I think what they wrote about the agnostic is because agnostic is sort of a person riding the fence. And this is the definition of it. Agnostic, a person who believes that nothing is known or can be known of the existence or nature of God or of anything beyond material phenomena. A person who claims neither faith nor disbelief in God. So it's just I call them fence riders, and that was me when I got here, was definitely an agnostic. And so one of the things too that they talk about is, does anybody know what a deity is? I was talking earlier, or a week or so ago, I talked about deities, and that outline that you get from Faith Throne, which I always said is one of the greatest ones, is that it gives you definitions of these things. And a deity is a god or goddess or divine status, the creator and supreme being in a monotheistic religion, mono meaning one, and it's in the Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And they believe in one God, and there's no dispute with those people on that basis. Another thing it asked about or talked about here was talking about material phenomena. Material phenomena, according to their view, all exist is matter and void, and all phenomena result from different motions and conglomerations of base material called atoms. And so, I mean, that's science, you know, basically. So a lot of people do believe in science. Some people believe in God. And so what the program of Alcoholics Anonymous does is try to get the person, the human, out of the materialistic world and into the spiritual world. And this can be very hard sometimes, you know, for us. So the step 2 is called a rallying point for a lot. And the reason they wrote to the chapter to the agnostic is this. Yes, we of agnostic temperament have had these thoughts and experiences. Let us make a haste to reassure you. We found that as soon as we were able to lay aside prejudice and express even a willingness and a belief in a power greater than ourselves, we commenced to get results, even though it was impossible for any of us to fully define or comprehend that power, which is God. So there's a lot of mention of God, even in the second step, even though it says a power greater than ourselves. If you're in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, you're going to be confronted with the word God. What Alcoholics Anonymous does let you do, though, is choose your own conception of a God. It says, much to our relief, we discovered that we did not need to consider another's conception of God. Our own conception, however inadequate, was sufficient to make the approach and to effect a contact with God. And so all you guys that's been through back to basics with us, and most of you had, you learned how to take step 2. And in taking step 2, is this is how you really take step 2. It says we need to ask ourselves but one short question. Do I now believe, or am I even willing to believe, that there is a power greater than myself? That's step 2 in a nutshell. And so, but don't spend a whole lot of time on that. Some people say either God is or God isn't. Don't spend too much time trying to figure out exactly what God is in the beginning. Just either believe or don't, because this is only the beginning. This is only the beginning. And if they wrote something about agnostics in 1939, think about what it is today. This is about some 83 or 84, 85 years later, and you'll see how God has been taken out of schools and governments and everything else. It's just, a lot of people today, I think, are more so believe in evolution than God. The last thing I'll say about this is, it says for us of the hopeless variety. The people in here that are hopeless and say you've tried to stop drinking and drugging and you couldn't, and it said our book, or the book Alcoholics Anonymous said God could and would if he were sought. So this is all about seeking God, and the most important thing, whether you believe right now or not, because over 50% of the people that came into Alcoholics Anonymous in the 1930s were atheists and agnostics, and many of those people have changed their minds since then. Even the atheists, a lot of atheists have, because we have to have something to believe in, and it has to be a power greater than ourselves. And some people go on to say that in the beginning, if you don't really know or don't have any conception of any God, you can actually use the 12 steps or the groups of Alcoholics Anonymous for your higher power. It allows you to do that. It's that powerful. Here's a group of people staying sober. The only I would like to say is this, and I read most every bit of the material I could get my hands on. And one day I was reading out of the 12 and 12, and then the forward to the book. And the forward to the book, it was just as plain as day. It says this. It said the 12 steps, spiritual in nature, if practiced as a way of life, will expel the obsession to drink. And you could say use drugs too. That's about as simple as it gets. If you want to get over drinking and drugging, then work the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I assure you, people that have done that, me included, the obsession to drink will be taken away. It's about as plain as I can put it, it's my own experience.